Yo, so I want to read this comment real quick that I received. This person says, never base your lifestyle off a job. Once you mess up, they don't care. They're going to let you go. So I want to talk about this real quick. And this is just my personal opinion. Shout out to the person who left that comment. Let's start with the first part. Never base your lifestyle off a job. I'm not necessarily sure exactly what he means by that comment. But, I mean, if we think about it, if you're working a job and you're earning the income from that job, your income is allowing you to live the lifestyle that you live. Buy a house, buy a car, etc. Whatever your lifestyle looks like. If that's you, your lifestyle is based on your job and the income that you're earning from that job. I think that goes for all of us that have jobs. If your job is allowing you to live a certain lifestyle, you're able to do it because of the job. So essentially, your lifestyle is based on you having that job, right? That doesn't mean you don't have other, sources of revenue coming in or other income that you have that can supplement whatever you're, earning from your 9 to 5 or whatever your W-2 job is. You may still have that. You may also have a business on the side and some of these other things in addition to your, job. But I mean, if you only have a job and that's what you rely on to take care of, your financial obligations and your lifestyle, then that's what it is. That's just the reality of it. The second part, once you mess up, they don't care. They're going to let you go. It depends. Most companies, not all, but most companies, when it comes to termination, most companies have a policy in place where they take steps in order to terminate you. Most companies don't just terminate you off the first screw up. Unless you're in your 90-day probationary period or you did something severe, right? You made a big mistake. If it's not one of those two things, 9 times out of 10, a company is going to go through the steps in order to terminate you. In other words, a company is going to give you chances. And that's just the reality of it. And, this is coming from someone who has been laid off in the past. So some of you may hear that and you may figure like, man, my views should be anti-company. But that's not what my views are. When it comes to, conversations like this, I lean more towards facts and more towards, right is right, wrong is wrong, and just factual information. Just trying to be as accurate as possible with my statements. So I'm not going to sit up here and say that, all companies don't care about you. I'm not the type of person to say that. I know a lot of people feel that way when it comes to jobs and companies and all these sorts of things. At the end of the day, I understand that, business is business. And the reality of it is that, if a company is having some difficult times in terms of generating revenue, the reality is that your job could potentially be in jeopardy. Worst case scenario, when a company has to cut costs, they're obviously going to go cut payroll. So, that could mean you losing your job. That's the one thing that employees can't control. Employees can't control whether or not they're going to get laid off. But an employee can control whether or not you come to work on time, whether or not you're cutting corners on your job, whether or not you have a good attitude at work. Like, some of those behavior / character traits, a person can control those things. Like, let's just keep it a buck. We got to keep it real. And oftentimes when I hear people talk around these sort of topics about, companies and all these sorts of things, to me, a lot of times it's one-sided. It's like companies don't care about you. All companies are trash. And these companies, all they care about is money. And, you're just another number. Like, all these type of things that we hear a lot, right? And I'm not saying that there aren't companies out there that represent those things, because I believe that there are companies out there that represent those sort of things and don't care about employees, don't show, their employees that they appreciate them. But let's be real. All companies care about money. They have to make money in order to stay afloat. That's just the reality of it. So, at the end of the day, if it's a decision a company has to make to keep you or keep the company afloat, you know what decision they're going to lean towards. It comes to a point to where it's like self-inflicted. For example, if you come to work late and your manager says, okay, you got to make sure you're on time, that's like a verbal warning. And you say, all right, the next week, if you come to work late again, the manager say, hey, I gotta write you up. You was a little late. That's after they had already told you that. Let's say the following week you come late again for a third time. The manager says, look, man, you got one more time, man, to come to work late. I'm going to have to let you go if you can't come to work on time. The following week you do the same thing. You come to work late again. If you get terminated because you can't come to work on time, whose fault is that? Like, that's self-inflicted. The fact of the matter is you were late. And they gave you multiple opportunities to get it right, and you just failed to do that. And that's just an example, right? It could be a number of different things, but I'm just trying to paint the picture for you guys. It's a lot of uncertainty right now in the job market. I'm listening to people that's been, laid off from their job and have been searching for another job for, 5 months, 6 months, and still haven't found a job. And these are, some of these people have degrees, bachelor's, master's degrees. I was just listening to some people last night. I was watching the video. So there are a lot of people out there struggling to find work right now. And this is why I also say, listen, if you do have a job, be grateful for your job, man. Be thankful for your job. It may not necessarily be where you want to be, but if you have income coming in right now in this moment, that's a blessing. If you don't like where you are right now, obviously you want to be looking for something better, whether that's you finding another job or you acting on whatever idea you have to pursue entrepreneurship. Again, I think, being self-employed, having your own business is truly the only way that you can avoid losing your job, right? At least by somebody else, being fired or being terminated, what have you. When you have your own, nobody can terminate you. And that's just the way it is. You can still lose customers if you have bad business, because technically if you have a business, then you work for the customer. We just got to be real about the job market, working a job as a W-2 employee, all those things, man. But if you get caught up into the narrative that, all companies are trash and companies don't care about you, come on, man. It just, or at least in my opinion, I just don't believe that. I don't buy into that. Do I believe that there are bad companies out there? Absolutely. Are there companies out there that will terminate you for the smallest things? Absolutely. I believe all those things, but I also believe that there are some good companies out there, man. And that's just what it is. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.